Hi everyone, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. My name is Osereme, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how to go about the sewing of this beautiful dress. In my last tutorial I showed you guys the pattern drafting, so today we're going to be sewing it together. So if you're interested in this, keep on watching and let us get started. Alright guys, so these are the patterns we drafted out in my last tutorial. So I'm going to be starting off with the front patterns. As you can see, I'm just going to arrange the back pieces away, arrange the front pieces. As you can see, I'll take all the back pieces and the yoke for the front away, and we're going to work on the bustier area. So I'm going to go ahead and first of all start by cutting out wadding pieces that I'm going to be using to pad the upper part of the bustier. So I'll place the center front piece on my wadding like this. And notice I'm placing it from where my curve started for the bustier part. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin this down, and I'm going to go ahead and trim it out. Just look at what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other side. But for the other side, you don't need the wadding to get all the way to the other end. Now, if you are wondering what I'm calling wadding, it's this white fabric here. Some of you know it as padded. So whatever it is, you know it out, just go ahead and use it. All right. So I'm just going ahead to trim it out, as you can see. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other side as well, but for the other side it's not going to get all the way to the end of the fabric. So you can see what I have now. So what I'm going to do is to cut out this place to have a nice curve for the side. All right, I'll trim off 1/2 inch from the top like this, and from the center front piece as well I'm going to trim off about 1/2 inch from the top of the wadding, so that I would be able to easily join my fabric with the lining, so that the padded fabric will not make that area to be too strong when I'm trying to join the actual fabric with the lining. So this is what it will now look like on the back part. Okay, so now I'm going to just go ahead and pin this down, and I'm going to be joining the wadding pieces with the other side pieces as well, just like this. So this is what it should look like on the inside. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin this in place, and I'm going to pin the other one as well, and I'm going to start joining them together on the sewing machine. So now that I'm done placing the pinning down the wadding on all the pieces, I'm just going to place one side together. I place the side piece, right sides facing each other with the center front, and I'm just going to go ahead and pin it down. I'm starting my pinning from the bottom part, which is the waist area. Make sure you're starting from the waist area. It's actually always very easier and way better when you start from the waist area. So I'm just going ahead to pin everything down, the actual fabrics and the wadding all together, just following the curve that I have, making sure I'm picking all the 4 pieces. I'm just going to go ahead and pin it together all the way to the top. As you can see, I'm done with this side, and you can see I already have that bustier effect here. So I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side, and I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and just make stitches on the areas that I've pinned down. After I was done stitching it down, this is what I had. I went ahead to iron my seams open, and you can see what it looks like. I also went ahead to stitch down my lining, just like I've done for the actual fabric. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to work on the yoke, and what I'm going to do is to just turn the neckline area of my yoke with a bias. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this on the sewing machine. So I have pinned down the areas that I'm going to be stitching with my bias. So I'll just go over, make my first stitch, and then use the bias to turn it over. Alright guys, so this is it. I'm done stitching it down on the neckline on both sides. So what I'm going to do now is to flip my yoke over, just like you see me doing like this on the neckline. Flip it over on the other side as well on the neckline. Make sure it is going towards the body of the dress. And after this, you're going to go ahead and cover it up with your lining. Okay, this way when you're done stitching it down, you have your yoke at the top. So I'm going to go ahead now and pin around the neckline and the sides. These are the areas I'm going to be stitching down on the sewing machine. Alright guys, I'm done stitching it down now, and I'm just going to go ahead and turn this over to the right side so that you guys will understand what I'm talking about. So I've used the lining to turn everything over, and you can see how the yoke area is looking. So I'm going to go ahead and iron this out. Now for the back pieces, I'm going to join the upper part, which is the yoke part, with the bottom part. So I'm going to remove the pattern paper, and I'm going to be placing the back pieces side by side like this. And for the yoke pieces as well, I'm going to place them side by side. So this is what it's supposed to look like. So I'm going to turn the yoke upside down as well. Now for the yoke, because of the curve, it's not going to fit in perfectly. So the yoke is in between the lining and the actual fabric. As you can see, I've placed the lining on top of it. So I'm going to go ahead and pin it all the way around. So as I'm pinning, I will be arranging the yoke, which is not straight under. So because the yoke is not straight under, you need to always arrange the yoke before you pin down. So as you can see, I'm arranging my yoke to align perfectly with the other pieces, the actual fabric and the lining. So I have gone ahead to pin everything down. So after doing this, I'm just going to go ahead and pin down the side here as well. And on this other side, I'm going to make sure I take the yoke out of the way and then go ahead and pin it down as well. So once you're through with this, you're just going to go ahead and stitch it down on all the areas that you have pinned down. You'll do the exact same thing for the other side. So this is what I had after I was done stitching it down. I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to the right side so that you guys will understand what I've been trying to explain. So this is what it looks like when you're done stitching it down. I've gone ahead to iron this other piece and you can see what it looks like. So now, once you're through with this, I've ironed out the front part as you can see. For the back pieces, after I was done ironing the other part, I went ahead to stitch down the dart areas. Remember that there's a dart on the back pattern. And then I went ahead to pipe the neckline with my bias as well, just like I did on the front pieces. So after this, you're going to place your front and your back pieces together, right sides facing each other. And you're going to be making a stitch on the shoulders. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin down the shoulder area where I'm going to be stitching, and I'm just going to go over and make a straight stitch there. Alright guys, after I was done making my stitch, this is what it looks like as you can see. Okay, so I'm going to be leaving this upper part aside for now, and I'm going to be working on the skirt part. Now for the skirt part, remember that we cut out a pencil skirt part for this dress, and I've also gone ahead to cut out lining pieces for each one. So first thing I'm going to go ahead and do now is to line all the skirt parts. So I'm going to be lining the front and the two back pieces. So when I'm through with this, I'll go ahead and join it with the upper part. Alright guys, so this is the skirt part after I was done stitching it with the lining. I went ahead to stitch down the dart areas on the skirt part as well. So now I'm going to be joining the front skirt part with the front part of the upper part of the dress. Okay, so I'll just place them right sides facing each other like this, and I'm going to go ahead and just pin around the waist area to join them together, or you can just go back to the same machine and just make a straight stitch to join them down. Now for the back part, I'm going to be doing the exact same thing. I'm just going to place them right sides facing each other like this, and I'm going to just stitch down both sides just like I've pinned down on the front part. So I'll just go ahead and also just pin these places down and just stitch them down on the sewing machine. So now I'm done joining the upper and bottom part of the dress. This is the back. I've already done the exact same thing for the front part as well, and you will notice that I went ahead to weave, or you can call it serge, whichever one you know it as. I went ahead to weave the areas that I stitched down so that it's not now making the whole dress to look rough. Okay, so now once you're through with this, what I'm doing now is to align my two back pieces together, because I'm going to be fixing a zipper to the upper part, and I'm going to be joining the remaining part of the back and then leaving a slit at the bottom. So I'm just arranging the back and pinning down the center back as you can see. So from the top to somewhere about 8 to 9 inches below my waistline, I am going to go ahead and have my zipper. So from this zipper point, I'm going to make a normal straight stitch. So from the bottom, I decided to just come up by 9 inches for my slit. Okay, so from here to here is going to be the areas I'm going to be stitching down. The upper part will be for my zipper, and then the bottom part will be for my slits. So now I'm done fixing my zipper to the center back of my dress as you can see. Can you see? While I was fixing my zipper, you want to make sure that you maintain this V shape on the back of the dress, and then I went ahead to make a straight stitch, and then the remaining opening is for my slit. So now the next thing I went ahead to do was to cut out just the basic short sleeve. Now I cut it out with the net because that's what exactly they did on the dress we are trying to recreate. So now I'm going to just stitch the sleeve to the sleeve areas that I have on the dress. So I'll just do it like this, open up the armhole area, place the sleeve center to center like this, and I'm just going to go ahead and pin it all the way around the armhole, and I'll go back to the sewing machine and stitch down all the areas I'm pinning right now. So I'll do this for the other sleeve as well. So I will just go over and just stitch these areas here down, just from here all the way to the end. So after I was done stitching down the sleeve, this is what I have. So I'm turning this over right now, and I'm just going ahead to just pin everything down from the arm, from the sleeve area all the way to the body part, because I want to go ahead and stitch down the sides of this dress. So as you can see, I'm just pinning this down. It's very simple. You can go ahead and just pin this down on both sides and use your body measurement to join the sides. Alright guys, I'm done stitching down the sides and you can see what it looks like. So now the next thing I want to do is to have that fringe effect that we had around the neckline from the back. So from the center back, go ahead and measure the neckline all the way to the armhole. And when you get to the armhole, measure the sleeve as well, just like I've done here. And then flip it over to the front. Make sure that you're still maintaining the measurement. And then measure to the front of your dress. Just the front armhole, okay? So once you get here, you are going to use that measurement that you have to draw out your circle for the fringe. So what I had was 22 inches, right? So now I'm going to cut out a flare with the 22 inches that I just got. So I'm going to fold my fabric into 4. Note that I'm trying to cut out the flare for the design that we have around the neckline. So this fabric is folded into 4. I've gone ahead to iron it out. So now I'm going to go ahead and divide that 22 inches that I had into 4 because my fabric is folded into 4. So I'll just use my tape to divide 22 inches into 4, as you see me doing like this. And what I had was about 5.5 inches. So that 5.5 inches, I used it to make a rough curve from the center point of my fabric, and I marked a point where my rough curve started. So from that point, I started taking measurements all the way to the pointed top. If you do not understand everything I'm saying, follow exactly what I'm doing in the video. So whatever you get, use it to measure all the way to the pointed top. So once you're through with this, from the first line that you drew out, that's where you determine the length of the flare. So I'm marking 5.5 inches because I want this to be about 4.5 inches long by the time I'm done with everything. So I'm just using 5.5 inches. And notice I'm placing my tape now at the first curve. So place your tape on the first curve and then take it all the way around. So once you're through with this, you're going to go ahead and cut out on both sides. Now note that this is just for one side of my sleeve. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out another one exactly like this for the other part of the sleeve. And then I'll cut out lining pieces exactly like this as well to line both pieces. So now guys, these are the 2 actual fabrics and the 2 linings. So for the actual fabric, I'm just going to cut through one of the fold to open it like this, as you can see. Okay, go ahead and cut through one of the fold on your lining as well to have it looking like this. So now I'm going to be placing the lining and the actual fabric right sides facing each other, and I'm going to be stitching all the way around. So I'll stitch all the way around, joining the both pieces together. I'll only leave a little space to turn this over to the right side. So I'll just leave a little space somewhere here. So every other place will be stitched down, just a little space to turn it over to the right side. I am done stitching it around, and I'm just going ahead to just trim off some of the excesses that I have around the areas that I stitched down. And after this, I'm just going to turn this over through the little space that I left, and I'm going to go ahead and iron out the piece. So now after ironing out my piece, this is what it looks like. Okay, this is just one part of it. The other one is going to be done exactly like this for the other side of the sleeve. So now you're going to go ahead and bring your dress, and you're going to place this on this edge. Now when you cut out this fabric, you will notice that when you cut out this flare, you notice that by the time you're done, it will look a bit bigger than the area you're going to be placing it in. So you're going to fold the edge like this. Okay, and you're going to go ahead and pin it down here. Okay, so I'll place this here like this. I'll continue to just place it along the V shape that I have around the neckline. So it's actually very simple. After I was done with this, I realized that I still had some excesses. What I did was to make a little pleat on the back area before I took it over to the front. So you can actually make pleats if you feel like the flare or the ruffle that you now have, that's the fringe that you now have for the sleeve, if you feel like it's too much. So once you're done with the back, just extend it freely on the sleeve area and then come to the front and just fold it in like you see me doing like this, and then just go ahead and pin it down. This is very simple. So it's going to look like this. If the sleeve area now becomes, the next part of the sleeve now becomes too long, you can now go ahead and just trim it off. So I'm going to go over to the sewing machine. I'll just make top stitch on the front and the back. I'm not going to be top stitching the sleeve area. So after I was done making my stitch on both sides, this is what it looks like. So you can see the sleeve area, you do not make any stitch, but on the neckline area of the back and on the front is where you make your stitch to place your ruffle. Like I told you guys, I made a bit of gathers when I got over to the sewing machine at the back, and also folded it in front. And this is basically it for the making of this dress. It's actually very simple, and I hope that you guys actually find this tutorial helpful. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.